I don't want you wasting your time with a tire kicker. I don't want you wasting your time with somebody. Doesn't mean the prospect's a bad person. It just means no way in hell are they going to spend 30 grand on something they think's going to cost 5 grand. It's just not going to happen. So let's figure that out in 15, 20 minutes on a phone call, shake hands and part ways if we need to. Now I've just freed up half my time. If you're a business owner, a one-man show, you got more time to do the stuff you got to do. If you're a salesperson, you got more time to prospect, build relationships, spend more time with the right buyers.
All right, what's up, everybody? Today on the New School Contractor podcast, I have the one, the only Tom Reber. Tom, how's it going?
What's up, Jeff? Good to see you, bud.
Great to see you too. Get a chance to hang out here in person here in a couple months out in Denver at your event. We are super pumped for that. Got a whole bunch of our crew going out to that event. So excited.
Yeah.
Always enjoy the chance to get out to Denver.
Yeah, it's a good time. It's our Mile High Profit Summit. It's our Super Bowl every year. So the day it ends, the next day we start planning it again, and it's always part of the conversation, and we freak out. No matter how many tickets we sell, I always lay in bed the night before going, I hope people show up.
Yeah, that's like, and then I'm sure, like, I know you've got a team, but if you're anything like me, it's like, is it going to be good? Are we going to nail it? Like, I think we're going to nail it. Like, we've, gone through the whole process, and, no matter who you are, you have those thoughts, right?
Yeah. Our team is phenomenal. That if it's going to be any good, that's going to come down to me communicating my vision through all the speakers and just the energy and all those things. And so, but yeah, our team, they've knocked it out of the park the last 2 years that we've been doing it. And, we're to the point now where I handle the vision and kind of what we're going to present and all those things. And they handle everything else. I just show up and get to have a good time with everybody and do the thing. So,
love it.
Hat tip to the fight team. Cause dude, this is, and as your business grows, this is true too. Like, there are so many things happening in your business each day when you have great people that you're not even aware of. Some of the headaches and fires they're putting out and things like that. So yeah, I just want to go above and beyond right now and say thank you to the Contractor Fight team. You guys rock.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. So, jumping right into it here. I think what we like to talk to people about is like, what are you uniquely qualified to tell the world about? And something being kind of in and around the contractor fight and the Tom Reber sphere over the last couple of years, the Shin, which maybe give some background there, is a bit of a sales process or a methodology or outline that I think, well, I know it aligns very well with what we do here at Groundwork, but part of the reason that you and I started talking in the first place, but maybe we'll start there. What is the Shin for somebody who has no clue what that is? What is it? Why does it exist?
So back in 2015, guy named Steve Shinholzer and I was coaching Steve's company, helping them with some stuff. And Steve and I just hit it off at a deeper level. And long story short, we decided to start a sales training program. And it was called the Contractor Sales Academy, which was I had the Contractor Fight, and then I had I was a founder partner in the Contractor Sales Academy. And now they're all under one roof, one brand, all that stuff. So anyway. Steve and I wanted to help people sell because salesmanship is pretty lame, to be honest with you. A lot of people don't know how to sell. You're a great craftsman, great at the trade, building the thing or fixing the thing, whatever the thing is. But most people don't put in that same commitment and that time to better their skills as a salesperson. And we all know nothing happens in a business without a sale. And without a profitable sale at that. So Shin after when we started this thing, Steve was like, there's 5 things that I want before I go out and stand in somebody's yard, right? You guys ever have that thing where if you're listening to this, you go out and meet with somebody and you pet their dog and they liked you and they even offered you an iced tea and you had the greatest conversation in the world and we love you and this is amazing. Then you go home, you type your crap up, you send it over and they ghost you. They've gone into witness protection. You wasted 3 hours of your life with drive time, typing crap up. Now you got another 2 weeks of follow-up calls and chasing them down. And Steve was doing that. As was I before I sold my half of my painting company years ago, hundreds and hundreds of times a year playing that game. And it's just not efficient, And so there's a thing that we say here that the sale happens on the phone before you ever meet in person. And a lot of people think like the goal is to sell over the phone. It's not to sell over the phone. It's to make sure that we're a good fit before either of us spend any of our time together. So the name Shin Fu came when one of our clients said to Steve, there were 5 things. Let me back up. There were 5 things Steve wanted to know. He wanted to know why we're on the phone, and I'll get into these more specifically. Wanted to know, do you got the money? What happens if we see something that's not within the money? Okay. And then is everybody on board with this thing? And then there's this, what we call the BS meter, a consultation fee, if we choose to implement it. Okay. So, and like I said, we'll get into those. So there were these 5 things that Steve wanted to know, and he started working through this on the phone. We were role playing things and coaching other people to do it. And one of our clients, I don't know, maybe a year into the sales training, said, man, the way you navigate a sales call and all the objections are amazing. And it's like, it's some kind of sales kung fu. And I think it was, Derek Johnson, who I know, one of Derek's guys, I think it was Travis. It might've been Derek, but I think it was Travis, who was his foreman, was sitting there and he just goes, yeah, it's like Shin Fu, after the whole kung fu thing and Shinholzer. And so we called it Shin Fu and it stuck. Almost 10 years later, we've trained thousands of men and women in the art of the Shin Fu. And so the process is this, man, before you go out. Okay. Jeff, have you ever been, you're married, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How long?
It'll be 14 years in about a month.
Okay. Were you ever on a dating app?
No. I was not.
Okay.
God,
You've been married too long.
Yeah.
So I had a minute on dating apps. I actually met my wife on a dating app.
There you go.
Match.com. And what you do is you pull something up and you go, oh, she's cute. And you swipe left, swipe right, whatever it is on the dating apps these days. This is how sales is to me. All right. This is how this first phone call, the sale is made on the phone. When my wife, Lee, and I connected on Match, I sent her a message. I'm like, hey, and then she's like, hey, and we had this little text dialogue going back and forth. And, we were determining if it made sense to go on a date in person.
Right.
Okay. That's really what the Shin Fu prequel is all about. That before I, drive an hour to Jeff's house and before Jeff rearranges his schedule, let's make sure that we have some things in common here before we get together and go on a date. So, the 5 steps of the Fu, number 1 is the motive. This is digging into the why behind the project using questions, active listening. This is an emotional connection we're after here. All right. This is not, why do you want me to come out? I want you to paint my house. Well, no kidding. All right. But what's the underlying issue? And a lot of times it's embarrassment. It's, I have to get the home looking right for my kids' graduation party and we're going to have 100 people over and my wife's pissed at me because I've told her for 3 years in a row I was going to do this. Whatever it is, it's the motive. People buy for their reasons, not for my reasons. Okay. The second step is the money. And this is where we get on the same page about the money with some different tactics that we train people on and role play, where, dude, if you do this right, you will know 100% of the time if somebody's willing to spend whatever it costs to hire your company before you type a proposal up, before you go out there, and you're going to talk in some broad general strokes here, right? Like I might say, Jeff, we can come out based on what you're telling me that you want done in the house, we'd come out, go total, pull out all the stops with all the highest end finishes for your new kitchen. We can expand the ceiling and put a beam in and whatever, right? And, top of the line across the board and everything, you're looking at $200 to $300 for that. Or we could come and kind of leave some of the footprint in place, just upgrade the finishes, and we're looking at $75 to $100,000. Which of those conversations you want to have? If you come out and you say, what's your budget? They're going to lie to you 100% of the time, because we all lie to salespeople. Okay. It's just, we protect ourselves. So we don't want to be taking advantages, but when you get the motive and then you move to the money, now you're getting real. All right. Let's say then they go, hey, Tom, I'm cool spending $20,000 on something like this. Then step 3 is the truth. This is setting expectations that we're going to be honest with each other. If you do happen to invite me out to physically look at your property, Jeff, we're going to just be honest, meaning this is where a lot of contractors get hung up. Dude, I can't give a price over the phone. I got to go look at it. Painters are famous for this. And I could rip on the painters here because I was a painting contractor. Y'all painters are the most complicated people on planet Earth, man. Jeff, I'm telling you, they're like, well, I can't give a price. I can't give a ballpark unless I take my shirt off and rub my nipples on the wall. Like, it just drives me crazy. All right. So anyway, the image of that just never gets old.
I guarantee it's the first time that somebody's used the word nipples on the podcast. Maybe it'd be the last. I don't know.
All right. I promise I won't use it again on this call. All right. I will not use it again.
It's overcomplicated, right? It's, let me, get down into the nitty gritty of everything when, it really doesn't matter.
There's no reason to spend hours itemizing things if we don't know we're a good fit. And so
playing the same game. Yeah.
So if I come out to your house, Jeff, or if you invite me out to look at your home, if we're on the same page with the budget, I want you to know this is what step 3, the truth, sounds like. We call it the truth. On rare occasion, there's a game changer, man. There's something I can't see from the pictures or videos that I got through groundwork, right? Like that's why you exist, to help people speed up the sales process and be more efficient and get on the same page. Sometimes I'll come out and I'll see that there's an access issue, or there's a condition that we're just like, hey, this is going to cost more. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to call a timeout. I'm going to say, Jeff, remember the $20,000 we agreed on? You're going to be like, yeah. And I'm like, well, we're about to have a tough conversation because of this. So that's it for your contractors out there. That's your out. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. And the other side of that is, Jeff, if I get out there for whatever reason, you don't feel like we're a good fit, you don't want to move ahead, just call a timeout, say, hey man, we're good. I'm going to go a different direction. That way I'm not chasing you for 6 months, trying to follow up with you, and you're avoiding me, and it's all awkward. Like the guy that likes the girl and she doesn't like the guy and she keeps ignoring him. Right.
Right.
Step 4 is the influencers, making sure all the necessary players are on board. How many times have you guys done a sales call and I got to talk to my wife, my CPA, my financial planner, my boss, my whatever. And then step 5 is what we call the BS meter. It's a consultation fee to separate the liars from the buyers. So that in a nutshell is the Shin process. Takes anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes on average, depending, some are longer, just depends on the connection that you have. But we find that this alone does 2 huge things, man. Number one, it cut whatever time you're spending estimating now in your business, cut it in half. Mm-hmm. Okay. Number one, what would you do with that other time? Everyone's like, I don't have time to work on my business. Or salespeople, if you have a sales team, they're like, oh, I don't have time to prospect, boss. Okay. No, you have time. You're just choosing not to prospect. In fact, I don't think you're a real salesperson unless you hunt, personally. And hats off to you. I was bragging to Neil. I was talking about my book and the chapter I just wrote. And then I said, yeah, Jeff's a hunter. Like, dude, you're hungry, right? I want my salespeople to be hungry, right? I don't want you wasting your time with a tire kicker. I don't want you wasting your time with somebody. Doesn't mean the prospect's a bad person. It just means no way in hell are they going to spend $30,000 on something, that they think's going to cost $5,000. It's just not going to happen. So let's figure that out in 15, 20 minutes on a phone call, shake hands and part ways if we need to. Now I've just freed up half my time If you're a business owner, a one-man show, you got more time to do the stuff you got to do. If you're a salesperson, you got more time to prospect, build relationships, spend more time with the right buyers. Okay. So number one, get your time back. Number two, what we found, we've been doing this since 2015. Average job size climbs, gross profit climbs, because when you connect with the motive, you make yourself the only and obvious option that they want to work with. And then when you pair in how to bracket properly, okay, and have money conversations up front, they actually spend more money than if you were just running out and doing bids and, spraying and praying or whatever you want to call it.
Yep. We appreciate you going through that. Every time I hear those 5 steps, it is, 5 steps. It's pretty easy. We have a different sales process here, selling software, a little bit different,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the same stuff, right? We try to get a BS meter.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're not in, let me know. If we don't think it's a good fit, I'm gonna let you know. And that alone, out of all the steps that are out there, like for us, it's a great way to build trust. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what when you're selling, you got to have that trust factor. And so the BS meter is maybe my favorite one out of that, just because it also sets you on a level playing field. You're not the person begging for the work. It's,
Yeah.
hey, we're on equal playing fields. I had a sales coach, and he called it equal business status. We aren't begging. We are not begging for work. We are not begging for you to sign up for our software, or our program or whatever it is. We got a thing of value. Do you have this need? And for contractors,
Mm-hmm.
most of the leads are inbound, most of them,
Yeah.
especially if you're doing your job. So people are saying, hey, I have a need.
Right.
So, they're already admitting that they need you. Or they might need you, right? They need help somehow. So, really understanding that balance dynamic, and treating that with respect, um, with you as the expert can be, a different way for salespeople to look at the situation. As you are the expert, you are not begging for this work. You have a thing of value that somebody's reached out to you about.
Big time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I been married. It'll be the Queen and I have been together a little over 4 years. We got married last August.
Yeah.
And we were excited to plan our wedding and wanted to get married. Like I said, in August, we had this venue here in Colorado Springs that was our first choice.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful views of Pikes Peak, the Front Range, high-end resorts, just stunning views of Garden of the Gods. It was amazing. We planned a sunset wedding with just this, at sunset, like the light hits this ancient sandstone and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, the colors are amazing. And it's this place we wanted to do is just known for its vertical rock formations and the colors
Mm-hmm.
and this and that. So we scheduled an appointment with the resort's wedding planner salesperson, right? And guys, here, Jeff, you said something, I forget your exact words, but you must, the most important part of a sales call is understanding their reasons, not your reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's why motive is so important here. And I want to camp on that a minute and drive this point home if I don't do anything else today. So we scheduled an appointment and we look forward to mapping this thing out, surrounded by our closest friends and family and all this other stuff. And I'll call her Katie. Her name's Katie. And I don't remember because she didn't give me a reason to remember her damn name. Okay. And we walked in and we introduced ourselves. And the moment our butts hit the chairs, she pulled out the pricing sheets and began with an explanation of the different packages and the price tag for each. She made the assumption that we were just going to buy whatever the hell she put in front of us. Mm-hmm. And she literally slides it there. Not even 30 seconds later goes, which package do you want to do? The queen and I looked at each other and we're reading each other's minds going, WTF. And what she failed to do was make a connection. Okay. She failed to make me feel important. I don't care if you're painting a room, putting in a kitchen, doesn't matter what your thing is, you guys. If you don't connect with people emotionally, okay, the elite salespeople are masters of connection. They're masters of understanding the goals and the dreams of what they want. Okay. And if she would have just simply said, so I want to talk motive here. I want to give you guys a tool. Motive is about just open-ended questions and shut up and then peel it back. Most salespeople pounce. Okay. Yeah, we want to have a sunset wedding. Oh, we can have a sunset wedding. That's pouncing, right? Or it's really important that the contractor cleans up in there. Oh, we always clean up after ourselves. And we won all these awards and we're blah, blah, blah. That's pouncing, just to give everybody a sense. Peeling would have been this. Hey, Tom, Lee, before we get into any of the packages and things like that, I'm sure you guys have some visions of what that day looks like. Can you just paint a picture and help me see what you see? Okay. Imagine, or she just said, tell me about your wedding day, wave a magic wand over it. She would have heard 20 minutes of us sharing what we envisioned. We would have talked about the view at sunset, the time with our family, our friends flying in. All right. We would have spent another 30 minutes walking around the space with her, dreaming and selling ourselves. Okay. And the meeting would have ended with a deposit check. Instead, we left Katie's resort, settled for another venue and gave them our 50 grand, which was far less money than what Katie's place would have been. Okay. Because she failed to make me feel important. So if you guys are meeting with a client, I don't care if you do Shin Fu or not, you still want to run around and waste your time and go on site and stand in front of people that you shouldn't go on a date with to begin with, then at least get them talking about what's important to them. I had another thing here at my house downstairs is where I do all my filming and stuff. We had a vision for what we wanted down here. We had a guy selling us like epoxy or stained floor, concrete, whatever the hell it was. We ended up doing it with somebody else. But this guy came down and he goes, so what do you want to do? That was the only question he asked. I said, I want to do like a epoxy or something on the floor. He cuts me off and says, no, you don't. You want the X5000, blah, blah, blah. And he went technical. This is where a lot of salespeople make mistakes, man. They go technical. They don't go emotional. Technical can come. All right. Had he done this, okay, Jeff, let's play this game. All right. You be the sales guy and just ask me any open-ended question about my plans for the space. I don't care what it is.
How do you plan to use the space, Tom?
Jeff. All right. So check this out. I run this thing called the Contractor Fight. I broadcast to millions of people around the world from this space. We do video content down here. It's an ugly basement. We got this stupid carpet in here now. So what I'm looking at is we're going to do some painting. This bar over here, this little kitchenette, we're going to strip it off and make it a tequila bar with a black granite countertop. There's going to be a gorgeous copper front here. And on the columns, there's going to be a tequila bar with all my Clase Azul on its shelves, all displayed up there. All right. Over here in this area is where I sit and I coach with the big screen that's going to go on the wall there. And when I don't do much one-on-one coaching, but when I do, sometimes I fly people out and we spend a day here and we need a comfortable place. And in the middle of the room, we found this kick-ass pool table because I like to shoot pool. It's got these cool I-beam legs that kind of are on brand with the fight. It's going to be black. I envision like this concrete, hard-looking floor, whatever the material is. I don't know. Dude, do you see? I'm talking about it because I have it now.
Yeah.
Okay. I could see it in my head. And all he did was tell me all the reasons why. And then my wife, she's rolling her eyes at the same time because she's like, my God, will you ask us a fucking question? All right.
Yeah.
And so she goes, all right, well, whatever product you just said, what's that going to cost?
Right.
Now, before I tell you what he said, when a client asks you what something costs, most salespeople that don't work on their money mindset, don't role play, don't practice, don't know how to handle the pressure of being in the ring. Okay. And I don't mean in the ring combative. I just mean like, guys, you're going to war. That's what sales is. You're fighting for your family, for your income, for your future, your employees. All right. It's showtime. You work your ass off to get these leads and get the phone to ring, and then you go out there and you're not prepared. It'd be like taking somebody who's, you know, a middle school kid, you know, and hand them a rifle and say, go fight in the Marine Corps. All right. You did nothing to prepare. You're set up for disaster. All right. So don't make the assumption that when somebody says, what does this cost, that they give a shit. We literally didn't care. He could have said 50 grand for the 1,000 square foot space to do the floor. If he would have tapped in to my emotion in the sale and the motive, every other step would have been super simple. All right. Yeah. So she goes, how much is it going to cost? He goes, well, it's a really expensive. And she goes, okay, what's really expensive? He goes, it's probably going to be like 9 or 10 grand. And I went, okay. Now, she asked the question because I had tasked her with designing the space. And she just wanted to know, like, all right, what's the floor going to cost? Because everything else is on top of the floor, and we got to get that done quickly. And she's just wanted to know because she was just kind of budgeting in her head, not budgeting in the way like, oh, I can't go over this. Right. She was just curious.
Yeah, I think so. If I could maybe, because I've seen and heard so many contractors, right? We have so many of the same folks that we work with together. The motive is so important. Price is so important. The, the time that's spent is so important. Talking about the bracketing. So when you look at the way that contractors, in the fight, who more intimately that, have used the system and probably grown as they've applied some of these methods. What's maybe the most common misconception? We talked about bracketing. Maybe that's it. What's the most common misconception? And then I do have another question or two for you. The most common misconception, people are like, that's not for me.
That this process isn't for them?
Correct.
Yeah. They still believe they have to play by the same rules of a sales game in the trades that's not working. Well, nobody else does this. Everybody else drops what they're doing and they run out there to see me and tap dance in my yard. But those who fully embrace it and go, no, it's rooted in respect for yourself, for your time, for your company, for the client. And this isn't some hardcore conversation, guys. Like if Jeff calls me up, at first I'm going to start with gratitude. Ring, ring. Hello, Tom's Painting, or whatever it is. Right. Oh man, what's your name? Oh, I'm Jeff, and this and that. Jeff, first, I don't know if we're going to end up working together or not, but man, I just want to thank you for considering us. I know you have a lot of options, man. There's hundreds of painting companies you could have called. I'm not sure why you chose us, but I'm grateful you did. And I just want to say thanks. Right away, I have brought this energy that I'm uncommon.
Yeah.
Now, Jeff's probably going to say something like, I was referred to you by so-and-so, and they said you did a great job. We found you on Google and you had really good reviews. See, I'm going to listen for those things. So when Jeff says, yeah, we saw you had really good reviews on Google and we wanted to see if we could set a time for you to come out and give us an estimate. Because that's the game consumers are used to playing.
Right.
So they're just repeating whatever, the latest third-party lead gen site college intern who knows nothing about business is writing an article on. So, so I'm going to go, well, hey, Jeff, you brought up our reviews. Is there anything that stood out? Okay. We don't have to do this now, but he's going to tell me a little more. And then I'm going to say, well, Jeff, there's asking permission. This is all part of motive. Jeff, are you cool if I share with you why we get so many good reviews?
Right.
Jeff's going to say yes, of course, because nobody ever says no. All right. I'm going to say, we have this crazy process that we follow. And it starts with a phone call for, 10 to 20 minutes where I just spend some time hearing what you're after. Maybe you can paint me a picture and I can first determine if I can even help you.
Right.
Okay. Before we do anything else. And now on occasion, very rare occasion, somebody will be like, well, the other guys are just coming right out and I don't have time for this. I'm like, totally cool. But listen, hey, Jeff, all those great reviews or those nice things your neighbor said about us or whatever, the only way I can guarantee that is if I follow my process, because every time I've not followed my process, nobody gets what they want. So would there be a better time for us to talk for 20 minutes? See, it's tonality, it's spirit of the conversation. And I led with gratitude and the right energy. And those things are uncommon. And we don't have time to go on to the nuances of it here. Guys, this is, to answer your question deeper, most contractors think they still have to play by the same rules as everybody else. And when in reality, when you choose to be the uncommon contractor, you get more attention. You command higher prices. Mm-hmm. Okay. You have more loyal customers. You have better referrals. All these, there's nothing but benefits here. All right. And now I will also say, the goal is not to sell the job on the phone. I have to reiterate this. The goal is should we have a date?
Yeah.
Okay. Should we have a date? And before I show up to the date, Jeff, you're going to know, we're both going to know if I can help you. We're both going to know that based on what we talked about, it's going to fall into this range of money and you're cool with it. Right.
Yep.
And then, just if you just had that info, and then I'm going to ask in the motive somewhere, I'm going to go, hey, Jeff, who else is excited to do this project? And you're going to go, oh, my wife or whatever. I'm like, What do you think she's going to feel about dropping 20 grand on this?
Yeah.
So I'm dealing with the decision makers right there, the other influencers,
Let me ask you this about, maybe play this back to you. Seen, and, even in our own customer base with our product and folks that we talk to and are close with their business as well, just the tightness, the economy has hit a lot of folks.
Mm-hmm.
Leads aren't coming through like they were last year, certainly not the year before, as some pumped up pockets, in, just lots of dollars flying around. As we've hit, who knows what the true economic term is, like a downturn or, depression or, recession, whatever you want to call it, a little tighter. How have you seen this strategy flex, if at all? Is it the same thing no matter what? How do you and your team coach through some of that?
Yeah. So all right, let's rewind a few years when things were humming in the economy. It reminds me of before the 2008 recession, which hit my business hard. Before that, if you were on time, didn't kick the cat, and weren't creepy, you sold the job.
Yeah.
You were an order taker.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Great Recession hit and all the order takers were exposed. Okay. Similar to that is what we're feeling a little bit now, where there were several years after the Great Recession and all that stuff. And there was it was strong. Order takers came back. And so when it's a time where you can be an order taker, your skills as a salesperson are less important.
Right.
Okay. Because you're going to accidentally close some deals just by the sheer number of leads coming in. Right. So, and we see that a lot. So right now, our big push is, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. If you're a sales professional, be a professional. What do professional anything do? They train, they practice, they invest in themselves. They level up their skills. Sales is about confidence. It's energy and empathy. It's knowing how to, when in a climate like this, when Joe homeowner thinks he can tighten the screws on your pricing and sharpen your pencil, what do you say to come back without being a jerk about it? Right.
Right.
And how do you ask a question to get him to peel it back and bring you more to the motive because there's some sort of fear there? How do you stand your ground? That all happens by choosing to equip yourself. And so there's never a more important time than when inflation is high and economy might be taking a dip or whatever you want to call it. The phone's ringing less. If the phone's ringing less, I better be really dialed in with the sales calls I have.
Right.
So that's our approach on it is, You know, I mean, if you're going to call yourself a professional golfer, you're going to the driving range. If you're not a pro. You know, what do professional salespeople do? They work on their minds. They work on their bodies. Sales is an exhausting game. It is. I don't care what anyone says. It just, you need to be mentally sharp. Okay. And you want to be more mentally sharp, take care of your body, exercise, those types of things. All right. You got to put in the reps of role plays on a regular basis and it's like baseball player going into the batting cages. Nobody shows up for game day and not taking BP during the week. Okay. Yet as salespeople in the trades, we think that our work speaks for itself. Okay. That's great. Your work should speak for itself. All right. But there's another level, and you could be a common salesperson. You could be mediocre and get by, but we're not in the business of making common salespeople. We're in the business of teaching how to sell unafraid and be an elite salesperson. And the elite in anything put in the reps. Kobe Bryant was in the gym 2 to 4 hours before a game in the dark without the lights on before games shooting. Okay. Larry Bird used to shoot 1,000 free throws a day. Okay. It's what you do in the unseen hours that are not on the stage of sales that make you an elite salesperson.
Love it. Yeah. So, putting in the work to make sure that you as a salesperson are equipped well to handle a slower drip of leads than normal. Love it. So let me ask you this. This is, so this whole new school contractor movement, I think everybody knows kind of the connotation of old school, right? Those, the, your grandfathers, set up and, worked hard, didn't make much money. And, the guy who just doesn't quite have it figured out kind of fell into the working with his hands type of thing. Part of that I think has to do with relationships. And kind of a lot of what you talk about is like whole person type of stuff, right? Not just, not just what you do on site, how you manage your business. It's who you are as a person, how you're preparing mentally. One of the things that I think is really cool about what you do with the Mile High Profit Summit is you have a discount for spouses to attend. And I'm a business owner. I'm an entrepreneur. I know the power of having somebody in your corner with you. That as well. Maybe talk a little bit about what you've seen from folks that have really leveraged their relationship, specifically with a spouse, to really level up their game. Because that's not something that, I think there's, that's new school in a lot of ways, right? I mean, the husband who's going to have those difficult conversations, or who's going to actually start to do the things that he said he was going to do, and really start to work on himself, and not be the guy who's just like, well, the bum who sits on the couch and makes the promises and doesn't keep them. Maybe talk about that shift that you've seen in the fight. Maybe even in yourself a bit. I know I could tell some stories, but maybe share a little bit about that shift that you've hopefully seen in the trades and the businesses you work with.
Well, the right 1 + 1 = 3. Steve Shinholzer taught me that. That was the first place I heard it. And the first evidence of that for me is when I started dating Lee over 4 years ago. If you look at my P&L sheet in the contractor fight, it's gone up every month for over 4 years. Okay. And, Lee, we call her the queen. You know that. Your listeners might not know that. The queen is always drilling it into our community's head that success starts at home. And so many times I fall into this now and then where I got to put everything on my back. I'm 53, so I don't mean to offend people, but I might be a little old school where I believe the man should provide, right? I'm not saying women can't. I'm not saying women aren't strong. I'm just going, I embrace and love my role of being the pack mule that says, put it on my back. I got it, right? But that can also be really lonely, and it's only one view. right?
Yeah.
You're carrying the load. You can't see everything. And
Right.
so I think a lot of, I'll speak to the men. I think a lot of guys dismiss the value that their spouse can bring to the business. I see a lot of disrespect towards spouses in the business. I've coached
Yeah.
tons of couples through the years, man. We have a lot of couples in our coaching group. As you know, we have a lot of couples at Mile High. It's the spouse tickets are half price because we want them in the room because we know if you're stronger at home,
Right.
everything else is going to be stronger. And so I see a lot of disrespect from guys towards their spouse. Go, well, you never worked in the trade, so you don't know what you're talking about. That's BS. Okay. Especially if you're in the residential trades, you guys, most of the buyers are women. Don't you think you might want a woman's perspective on how you offer your product and service and sell the thing and market the thing and all those things? And so, I've seen it huge in my life. I could tell you story after story, dude, about marriages that are saved. All right, because they're unified, man. It just goes back to the unity. And marriage is saved, debt's paid off, there's more money in the bank. First time they've taken a vacation in 18 years. I've heard people text or post in our group, you've seen comments like, man, since I started working on this and we've been a team, I walk in the door at night and she's happy to see me now.
Yeah.
I mean, how many of you guys listen to this right now are walking in the door at night and she ain't that fired up to see you? All right. How many times, Jeff, have you heard, because I know you deal with contractors obviously all the time, but like we hear it all the time, my wife just doesn't support my business. Okay. The reason is, and you touched on this earlier, which I've said for a while, is she doesn't support your business because every year you lie to her. You say, this year is going to be different. We're going to make money this year. We're going to do this. And you can't even get out of the bed in time. You don't honor the workouts you do. You say you're going to be home for dinner at 5 and you're not. Whatever it is, if you're not honoring these commitments, why should she give you the benefit of the doubt after a while? She's only going to support you so long, and then she's going to, throw a penalty flag on it and say, I call BS. You're full of crap. All right. That's why we want spouses in the room. That's why in our Battleground program, you can bring up to 4 people in the group under one membership, because we were hoping one of those is your spouse. A couple times a month, a lot of the women in our Battleground group, they do like just a free form. Hey, we're having a Zoom call for the ladies, and they get on there and I'm sure they bitch about their husbands and they lean on each other and encourage each other through health issues or parenting things, whatever it is. All right. But they bring massive value. And I will say this, when I did one-on-one coaching as my primary business model several years ago, most of my clients were couples. And I will tell you, pretty much 100% of the time, the wife was the sharper of the two. All right. So it's huge, dude. Success starts at home. And I don't know about you, but like if the queen and I are bumping heads on something, then I got to do a video, I got to work on writing my book, I got to do a sales call. I am not the same.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, if you're not, again, if you guys could picture a circle here or view down into a lake, drop a rock in the lake, where the rock hits, we call that get oxygen. Take care of you. You take care of your health, take care of your mind, read something, get some sleep, whatever. The next ring out is your people. That's your spouse. That's your kids. That's the people under your roof. All right. Then it's build your empire. Okay. And a lot of us have it backwards. We think the business is the center of everything, because if I could just make more money and if I just do this and this, everyone else will be happier. But in reality, you're giving them all scraps, all in the name of pursuing, all in the name of taking care of them. You give them scraps.
Yeah.
And it's hard, man. I love what I do. I love to work. I will work all the time, not because I have to, because I love to. I just love helping. I love having an impact. But she is the one who constantly reminds me, like, success starts at home, man.
Yeah.
You got to dial your shit in here.
Yep. Yeah. It's, being in and around what you've done in the contractor fight in general, in the groups and as a partner with Battleground, just seeing, and I mean, honestly, some of the people we have met through, connecting with you and your team, awesome folks, right? I think that's maybe another aspect of that whole thing, and we'll wrap here in a second. But one of the aspects is uh, husbands, contractors, male folks in the trades understanding how to have a conversation with another guy in the trades. It's like, hey, struggling with this. How did that go for you? Man, that's some good stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff, a lot of that happens in the in-person events. I know in the groups as well. So kudos to you for taking that on as something
Thank you.
new to bring to the trades as a forefront piece of what you do. Um, Let me ask you this: if you were starting again in your business, um, what is one thing that you would do differently, or now that times have changed, maybe like what's one thing that you would hang your hat on as a sales strategy or maybe a marketing strategy? I mean, Shin Fu's an easy one, right?
Hmm.
Um, Maybe it's team, maybe it's the way you organize your outsource stuff. What would that thing be?
Yeah. I have a two-part answer,
Okay.
1A and 1B, and they can be interchangeable. If I were starting over knowing what I know now, the first thing I would do from day one is make sure I have a database.
Mm,
I did a video a number of years ago how not having a database for my first 3.5 years of being in business, I literally didn't. I was a painting contractor, and I'm just like, I'd bust my tail, I'd prospect, I'd bid something, and then whether I got the job or not, the only record I had of them was me sending an email with a
right.
bid, right? You know what I mean? And I just didn't know I was
Yeah.
ignorant to it, right?
Sure.
I thought databases were like Fortune 500 companies or
Yeah, like
something.
IT folks or something. Yeah.
And I did the math, and not having a database my first couple of years, place to keep track of things and all that, whether they bought or not, cost me at least $2 million.
Yeah.
Okay. Easily. So that's first. But the other thing that came to mind pretty much at the same time was, price and produce your work for a 50% gross profit right from day one. And that's a whole another conversation, but
Sure.
guys, basically if it costs you $1, charge at least two. If it costs you $1,000 for labor and material on this job, charge at least 2,000. And when you combine that, so that's confidence in your numbers, selling unafraid, like we've been talking in the third phase here that we focus on a lot is get eyeballs. When you're fanatical about getting eyeballs, you know how to sell the proper ways and you're priced properly. That's what takes. I mean, you're inside our groups and stuff, dude. So you see some of these things, but like we'll have somebody come in at 300 grand a year, losing 12 grand a year.
Yeah.
And within 1 year, they're doing 2.7 million at a 50% gross profit. Because those are the three pillars. So, and we already covered the sales thing, but I think it's guys, you're worth it. All
Yeah.
right. You are worth it. Like it's expensive. One of the reasons you can't get out of the field, you can't work on the business, you can't, invest in the company is you don't have the profit margin to do so. And you're not going to scale your way to profitability. All right. Like you need to maximize the profit on every project that you do. And when you do that, you don't have to sprint to the next job to get a deposit check. You can close the job out properly with like love, and you can work through the whole project where give an amazing red carpet experience that's uncommon in the trades, right? You can afford all the things and the tools like you have and like we have and stuff to make the business better. But it starts, if you just did that, I will not do a project if it's not a 50% gross profit. Right now, there's some of the guys that are calling BS on this right now, dude. They're like, this guy's crazy. But I've seen it thousands of times throughout the years in our community here. So it works.
Yeah.
It works if you believe it can work for you. And it's not the illegals. It's not where you live.
Yeah.
All right. Some people are like, well, I live in the middle of Nebraska in a town of 800 people. I can't get a 50% gross profit. Doesn't mean you're charging the same dollar amount as a contractor in Manhattan is. Okay. He has much higher labor costs than you do, but you can still double them and get a 50%.
Yeah.
So
Love it. Database, price for profit, good stuff. All right, I've got one quick fire. If you could sum up in a sentence or two, what does a new school contractor, what does that mean to you? When I say that phrase, what does it mean to you?
Um, means somebody who's choosing to plant a flag on the way they want to build their business and not play by the same old rules. They're calling their own shots. They're not. I mean, I got into the trades, dude, and all you heard was, "Oh, you figure out what it costs, and you add 10%." And you
Yep.
10% yourself into bankruptcy. And so I think it's the new school contractors certainly respecting what was in the past, respecting your elders. For me, it was my uncle, my dad, and other guys, my grandfather. Right? It's not that I don't respect them, but I'm like, is this really working?
Yeah.
Right? And a new school contractor gets to define the new rules. The beautiful thing about owning your own business, dude, is you get to do whatever you want. You can. If you want to quadruple your prices right now, you can. Right? If you want to not work with this client, you can not work with this client. Okay? There are consequences and, good and bad to every choice we make, but the good news, you get to put out there what your ideal life is. And that ideal life that you want is just a math problem. Just reverse engineer the math and you're there. Dude, I've known guys that have brought in 1.5 a year in top line revenue and they paid themselves 600 grand. Okay. So it's not hard.
Yeah.
You just need to be committed to it. And so new school to me is they're writing their own rules.
Love it. Love it. Great stuff, Tom. Always good to catch up with you and chat. We'll see you in a couple months. Thanks
I look
again
forward
for
to
coming
it, bud.
on.
Thanks so much, man. I appreciate you.